today we are talking about investing. Okay, I'd like to introduce Eric S. Rivas to the group. He will be here today to talk about investing. He is from the Financial Planners Association of New England. Eric S. Rivas is a Boston native of Puerto Rico descent, brings over a decade of banking experience and a deep commitment to community service. He's had roles such as Assistant Vice President, Branch Manager, and Director of Operations, providing personalized financial guidance to clients. Beyond his career, Eric serves as Treasurer for the Puerto Rican Festival and Financial Overseer for Diego Boston, actively contributing to local boards and initiatives. A devoted husband and father of 3 daughters, Eric's leadership and dedication reflect his passion for community and family. Eric, we're so grateful and so excited to have you here today to talk about investing.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited for the opportunity to share some information today, and I'm positive that it will have some effects for us and going forward. So thank you for the opportunity to support.
All right, excellent. We're looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, so as mentioned, my name is Eric Rivas, and I'm working with the Massachusetts Office of Economic Empowerment Worth and Wealth Seminar, Investing 101. As mentioned, my name is Eric Santiago Rivas, and I'm looking forward to what we're about to get into. So why are we here? We're here because a lot of us have financial backgrounds, or we've learned certain things to help us get better financially. Whether you're young and older, we've always wanted to learn more about finances in some capacity. Whether it's you're young and you're looking to have a summer job, or you're getting older and you're looking to learn how to invest, build credit. There's so many plethora of ways that we've all learned in some way, or had some desire to learn more in the financial world. And for me, I like doing this because I made a lot of mistakes. I made so many mistakes, and I am a person who works on self-development, and I've always wanted to kind of work on those mistakes and get better. So I started this early on. Since I was young, I remember making mistakes financially and not understanding why things were the way they were, right? So that's kind of my passion. And I'm going to get more into that as well. But just wanted to kind of give you an understanding, this is passionate for me because I've been in some different places and I've made some mistakes. But we're here today to learn and get better. So we are here because we want to get better financially, and understanding that there's some work to be done in this community and the people around us, right? Interesting stat, as you can see in the first slide, U.S. ranks only slightly higher than Botswana in adult financial literacy. Now, when I heard Botswana, I was like, wait a minute, I got to learn more about where Botswana is. So Botswana is a landlocked country located in South Africa. Strongest economics in South Africa. And what they're known for is diamond mining, tourism, and cattle. There's about 2.4 people there. And we're only slightly higher than them. And when I think about that, I'm thinking about why are those reasons? What are they doing so well to catch up to the United States in financial literacy? And I would say one is the resources, right? And then number 2 is education. Education is really big in Botswana. They're consistently learning and getting better with their finances. And I believe, according to the research, that's a big reason why they've been able to improve so much. Number 3 was culture and financial systems. So they have the culture of wanting to get better. They are participating community-wise in different ways to improve. And that financial system is in place. So kind of having that structure in place so that they can all right, cool, let's get better here, let's get better there, whether it's economics, whether it's, utilizing our resources, the tourism. They want to make sure they take advantage of as much as they can of all the opportunities and things they are able to provide to others. And that's kind of why they've been able to do so well. So shout out to them for being able to become so financially literate in this space. As you can see here, it says literacy rate is 57%, ranking 14, which to me is pretty impressive. So we're going to flex our financial muscles in the financial success, and we're going to talk about different tools that we would need to be able to continuously get better ourselves here in the States. When you think about financial planning, it's not so much as what you see in front of you, the GameStops, the Bitcoins, Tesla, day trading, those are investing, but that's not financial planning. Financial planning is being able to provide you the opportunity to even get to the investment piece. So a lot of us kind of want to skip the process. Well, at least myself, I'm speaking for myself. I've wanted to just like go straight to investing, and I'm like, wait a minute. I still have to learn how to protect what I have. I still have to be able to learn how to manage what I have effectively so that I can even have the opportunity to be able to invest money. Because it's hard to invest money if you're not having the funds to live day to day, if you're not able to have a savings account, and also understanding what's ahead of you, right? So it's the planning that goes in place before you even get to this place. So this is kind of why this is just so important. And we'll continue to kind of like break it down and why this is so important to us and being able to get to the place where we can invest. So financial planning is understanding your complete life cycle. I just turned 40 this year. Me at 40 this year is not who I was at 20 years old. It wasn't what I was doing in my teens. In my teens, I'm just worried about getting on a train and get into school and being able to buy a juice and chips at the store, right? Where now it's like, all right, now I'm in a really different stage in my life and I have to really take things differently. So in this screen here, you'll be able to see like needs versus wants, which is so important, and understanding like what's required for good planning to have like good execution, like clever, concise execution. And things change. So here in the slide at 20, you're thinking about traveling, education, career, establishing your career. In the 30s, you're thinking about houses, borrowing, and then as you get into 40, wealth management is kind of where I'm at in my stage. And then I'm thinking about security, going down to wealth protection, and then eventually being able to like travel again and have fun and be able to play some of the sports that I like. And then by the 50s, 60s, I'm looking into charity community work. I'm looking into retirement planning. Well, I'm already thinking about retirement planning now, but it's going to become more important as far as like really establishing and getting to retirement at that age. What kind of assets do you have all the way up until retirement, which is kind of what we all strive to do as soon as we can. Some things that are important to notate is just family, education, lifestyle, entertainment, and hobbies. That's kind of like a snapshot of what our needs versus wants in this life cycle. Life's needs, planning, making the right choices, achievements, wants. That's what those are like life needs versus life wants. Life wants is achieving these required capital, which means some forward planning, right? So to be even more granular about it, what's a need that I have today is going to be different from a need that I had before, and also different from wants. Do I want a new car, or do I need a new car? What kind of car do I purchase? That's an example. Versus, am I able to buy my children certain things they need? Versus, do I just want to satisfy them, right? Or do I want to kind of help them see the bigger picture? It gets realer as you get older, right? Because it's like these decisions become a lot more impactful in your life, and it's important to start thinking about those things every day and approaching it in a way where it's going to support and develop yourself and the people around you rather than hinder and hurt. And that usually comes into needs versus wants, and that's happening daily. So I'm sure there's a lot of scenarios out there. I'm sure I encourage you to think about your life cycle to see where you are in your life and understanding where you are versus where you're trying to go. What are some needs versus wants in your life so that you can make good financial decisions to be able to get you to your goals. And we're going to make mistakes. I've made mistakes. Sometimes I'm making good decisions. Sometimes I'm not. But I know that it's a daily thing. It's a weekly thing that I kind of keep mind to. And I just want to continue to work my way into getting to where I want to go to, but understanding these decisions and making them to the best of my ability daily. What are your goals? Goals tie into this, right? And there's different sort of goals. You have your short term, quicker goals. You have your immediate, your intermediate, kind of like that midterm, and then you have your long term goals. What are some examples of short term? Transitioning into workforce, salary, being able to get that type of salary you want, that's a pretty important goal. That's usually more short-term goal. Creating a budget, starting a savings, and account emergency fund. Now that's critical. The work stuff is like you're gonna be able to build your resume, you're gonna get the credentials, and you're gonna fight, to get the opportunity that you want. That's a little bit that's within your control, but the budget is definitely like in your control. You own that. So being able to know what job you have money coming in, and then allocating it correctly, and then making sure you put 10 to 20% in your savings is not easy when you have life coming at you in different ways. So those are the things that you can kind of work on, regardless of what job you have, regardless of what salary you have. And then your wish list, right? You want to be able to get into your own apartment for short-term goals, condos, cars. You got to communicate. You have to be able to commute, traveling. We all want to travel because life can be a little bit hectic. So taking some time off to take care of yourself is important. Self-care is very important. And then hobbies. You want to be able to take care of those things you want because it's important to you and having fun. And there's also balance. I always think about balance. Then you have some intermediate term goals like buying the house, starting a business, starting a family. These three items it's not just an intermediate goal, but it has some weight behind it. It has a lot of you want to be able to attain these things responsibly, because I don't think we're all trying to do these things to fail. We want to be successful. So those short-term goals will absolutely impact your intermediate goals. So the better you are with your short-term goals, the better you'll be with your midterm goals, and then you'll be able to get to those long-term goals. But it's like steps. You build a foundation of the short-term goals, and then you start working your way into those midterm goals, and then understanding how you can move accordingly to get to these goals. Understanding a paycheck. Most of us get the paycheck, and not all will actually allocate and understand where it's going to, right? So when you get your paycheck, 10% is your savings. You have to plan for savings. A percentage goes to your Social Security, your Medicare, because we all need medical support. Something goes wrong, state taxes, we got to pay Uncle Sam. Federal taxes, you got to take care of those taxes. It's just you got to pay what the money is to be intended for, to support those areas. Medical insurance, disability insurance, and life insurance, right? All of these things are so important. So understanding that net discretionary income is pretty much, as you can see here, almost half the check. It's 60% of your gross salary or lower, and now you have 48% of it already used towards other important necessities in your life. And yeah, the better you understand that paycheck, understanding you're going to lose a percentage towards areas of importance, and what you have left, you have to be able to navigate what we have left even more accordingly, so that you can make those decisions that are going to support your short-term, mid-term, and long-term goal. Some of these are supporting some of your long-term goal, like your savings plan, life insurance, right? Some of these things do support it, but there's more that's in stake. Create and follow your budget. Yeah, this is, percentage here you can see. It's going to go to emergency fund, debt payments, credit cards, loans, mortgages. You have your home down payment, right? That's FHA gives you 30% down. But if you want to get into investments, you're looking at 20% down past your first home. So understanding that percentage of your budget, college savings, retirement savings, discretionary expenses, stuff that you don't quite see coming. It happens to me all the time as a father. I think my daughters, they usually need some stuff, right? And I don't always see it coming, whether it's school supplies or whether it's my daughter she has a half a day and she wants to go grab some food and she doesn't have anything, and I may not be around, so I have to support her. But when I'm around, I try to do what I can to kind of slow that down. But it comes whether you see it or not, it's coming. But then understand how to track it. Now, Mint app, there's a Mint application on your phone. There's other apps on your phone. I adore them. Before you had to kind of have it all on paper or on a computer, have a budget. I like these apps because it kind of gives you a snapshot of where you are financially. So here it'll give you top categories like property tax, mortgage and rent, bills and utilities, cash and ATM, and others. Others to me would be like, how often do I go to the grocery store? And the grocery store gives me an understanding of what am I percent of my paycheck am I using towards groceries? How can I minimize that? It's something as simple as like, I remember looking at my grocery store and seeing that I had a pretty big bill, and I'm like, what's going on? How can I save some money here? And I literally found one item or two that saved me a significant amount of money, which was like paper towels and toilet paper tissue. That kind of got into that like that payment. I was like, I'm just going to Costco. I go to Costco and I'm getting a bulk of these items much cheaper. So the thing when you go to Costco to get the meat can be expensive if you're buying them daily at smaller stores. Where if you just find ways to buy it in bulk, if you got a family, it will save you money. But that app was what I'm trying to get to. That app kind of gives you the example of where you are and where you could save some money. Whether it's going to the store, whether it's shopping, it'll give you a breakdown sometimes and tell you where the money's going, and that helps me understand where I'm at. And it gives you percentages. I'm like, okay, I could save some money here, I could save some money there, and it makes a difference. It makes a big, big difference. And then it'll help you continue to create, and you can follow your budget. So if you have a goal, you see the trimmings, you make the trims, and you're like, okay, cool. Now I could have a little bit of money here to be able to get to that goal. Because again, all the money saved is going towards the larger picture, whether it's your short, mid, or long-term goal. Then it talks about your paycheck, other income. Another piece I'd like to add is let's try to diversify, find different ways to make money. So if it's getting harder. So for me, it's you have one way of making money. Is I encourage you to find another income here just to kind of help with the expenses. Because again, we're working towards those long-term goals. We don't see the impact now, but it comes quick. So the better we are at having additional income, the better. It will support us with some of our spending and expenditures like auto and transport, bills and utilities, and education. These are important expenditures that we have to be able to take care of, right? So being able to economize, understand where the money's going, find ways to save money, while also building ways to make money, it'll all support you. It'll all make such a big difference in your lives, whether it's short, mid, or long. Build, increase your emergency fund. Whew, that's another good one. 40% of Americans can't cover a $400 emergency expense. I've been there. It's not easy. It wasn't easy to tell a family member or a friend or a significant other that I can't pay for that washing machine. It's $600-700. I don't have it, right? But we need the washing machine. If not, we don't have clean clothes, so we have to go to laundromat. I've been there, right? So this is kind of another thing that's important for me to project as far as importance, because you have to have emergency funds, 3 to 6 months living expenses to be able to take care of these items. And it was painful in the beginning, and it's gotten much better now. But I've been able to do this, and I encourage others to do this too, because it's a stress reliever, and it gives you more opportunities to invest into your goals and your future. But you got to prepare. You got to be prepared. It's called safeguarded approach. You have a safeguarded approach where if you don't got it, you got something put away for rainy day fund, right? And it's just so important because you can't control if you lose your job. Sometimes people just lose their job because the company wants to make some cutbacks, or something happens and you kind of get caught up into it. You just never know, right? Car repairs. I've been there too. Whew, car repairs. And it's not cheap. These pieces aren't cheap. And going to certain mechanics, you got to pay for their expertise and their professionalism and their service. So they're not sometimes the most affordable, but in order to make sure you have the good repair, because you got to get to the root. If you don't get to the root of the problem and correctly fix it, it's just going to show up in different ways, right? And then your car's going to be worse in the end. So that's why it's just so important to understanding how to have these emergency funds. Medical emergencies is real. We all have family members that go through things, and then appliances in the home. As I mentioned, mine was like a washing machine earlier. Yours could be different, but just understanding that the emergencies are so important. So I encourage everyone to have a few different accounts. I have about 3 accounts. I have my personal, I have my expenditures, my kind of like little funds, and then I have the savings. I keep everything bills, a little bit of the stuff that I spend on extracurricular activities like hobbies, etc. And then you have your third with savings. So understanding that you can do that, it's okay, because sometimes out of sight, out of mind. Money's going different places. You can even have it, I'm sure but I'm going to share it. You can have your paycheck be split in different ways, and that's what I do. I have my paycheck split in different ways, and then I have extra income that goes into the expenditure account. So I kind of like continuously think about different ways to be able to have what I need, but also protect where I'm going. And then you can look at different accounts. There's CDs, there's money markets. I mean, I thought when I got into the bank, a CD was a compact disc. I learned that a certificate deposit. So it's they're out there. So you want to find CDs, you want to find money markets that pays better interest. The benefit here is that CDs and money markets are bank products. They're FDIC insured, and you don't lose anything at all. So it's guaranteed up to $250,000, $249,999. But it's guaranteed, so you're not going to be losing anything. It's just a matter of how much you'll be making. And they have different promos, different CDs, different money markets pay different interest rates. But I also encourage you to know what the parameters are, because you don't want to get a fee. So if you break a CD early, you get a fee. So understanding what the term is and how much interest you're going to get, you can shop for the best rate. All the way to money markets, they let you use it, but to a certain amount of money. So they don't want you accessing it so much. So just understanding what these accounts do, and what are the parameters around the account, so you don't lose money, but you're just gaining money in that process. So unlike stocks, you're investing, it can go up and down. These are guaranteed interest rates as long as you don't go outside of their requirements. Monitor to improve your credit. This is a good one. This is a good one because most people think that when they go online and get a free credit score, okay, that's my credit score. I see it. It's free and I see it. Well, no. Did you just make sure you get all three credit scores? And sometimes they want you to pay a little bit extra, or you can go through certain services that provide it, but make sure you get all three. So the three credit bureaus are Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. You want to look at all three to understand what your credit score is. That makes up a FICO score. And that score is based off of this. So all three combined, and then once you know all three, you're looking at these different parameters. So you're looking at new credit, 10%, types of credit, 10%, lengths of history, 15%, 35% for payment history, and 30% for amounts owed. So for new credit at 10%, how much new credit are you obtaining? That's 10% of your score. Types of credit used, is it a line of credit versus a loan? Line of credit is more like a credit card where you borrow amongst what you pay upon what you borrow. Sorry for that tongue twister. You pay upon what you borrow. So if you have $1,000 line of credit and you only borrow 200, that's the type of credit you're using. Also, good to know, on a line of credit, you want to be around 30%. So $1 to $1,000, $300, like 30% or lower. You don't want to get past that, because then that's going to affect that percentage. A loan is, hey, you apply for $1,000 loans. Here's your $1,000 loan. You pay this every month, and then you will satisfy that loan. So there are two different types of loan. One is a line of credit. One is a loan. Know which one you're getting yourself into. Know what the interest rates you're going to be paying. That way you can have a nice mix. Mortgage is an example of a loan. Student loan is an example of a loan. Where credit cards are line of credit. Retail credit cards, like your Macy's card, line of credit. And then your length of history. Now, a lot of us can have good credit for a year, but can you do it for 10, 15 years, right? It makes a difference. If you're able to have good credit for 15 years with all of these creditors, it shows more strength, and you have a better percentage in that number. And then amounts owed. If you have a lot of loans out there and you owe a lot of money, it's going to affect your credit score too, right? You want to make sure you have it managed really, really well. If not, it's going to affect that percentage as well. And then the payment history. How often you pay on time versus when you don't. And that makes a big difference. So all of these will, if you handle it accordingly and you do a really good job, you got a really good credit score, you're going to have everybody knocking on your door asking for you to borrow from them. And that's where you want to be. And that doesn't mean you just borrow from them, but at least you have access in case you ever needed it. Home ownership. American dream is delayed a little bit for Gen Z. As you know, it's not as easy to buy homes these days. So this just gives you kind of an example of where you are as a millennial, and then as an 18 to 34-year-old living with their parents, you can kind of see the home ownership increasing when living, with their parents. So if you're younger on this, I encourage you to stay there. Don't rush. Kind of build the savings up so you can get to that place. It's not easy to be able to get to home, let alone be able to be sustainable and be able to pay it off for a long amount of time. So this is your chance to save money. And if you're older, continue to find different ways to make money and be able to get to that home you're looking for. Make sure you forecast all the expenses. Principal, interest on the loan. Principal is what you owe. Interest is what they're taxing you for borrowing the money. Real estate taxes, those will get a little bit expensive. Insurance for your home, just like you got insurance for cars, there's insurance for home. So if you have it, you're gonna need insurance. Utilities, electric, oil, gas. Those are those sneaky bills that can kind of impact your expenses, especially the budget. So understanding that piece, and then the annual maintenance of the home. Things break. Just like a car that needs to be maintained, a home needs to be maintained. So it's one of those things where you want to just keep in mind as a homeowner, if you are one, or looking to become one. And think about the value factors: location, quality of the city or town, quality of the neighborhood, school system, price history of the home, comparable, and conditions of the home. This is a big piece. And what I mean by that is, it, the stronger these areas are, the more the value of the home will be. If you have a home that's in a rough place, there may not be as much value. If you find yourself in a home that's in a nicer area, you're gonna have a better value. If you find a place that's in a lower rough place but has potential, right? Like the quality of the neighborhoods is improving. They brought in new staff for the schools, new staff for the city, and they're making some changes, and there's less issues going on. Then the value will continue to climb, and that's a sweet spot to be in if you're able to find that. But these are the type of things you want to think about when getting into a home. It's not just about how it looks on the outside. It's about the area, the city, the neighborhood, the leadership you have in the area. All that stuff matters because that will dictate what the value of your home will be. Protecting your wealth. You want to make sure you're protected against lawsuits, creditors, and other catastrophic losses. So those are certain areas you want to protect yourself with. You never know about a lawsuit, creditors, it comes, right? Property, home, auto, liability insurance. Like my insurance went up on my car note and I had no idea why. I'm like, why did it go up? They say because somebody hit you. But I'm like, I didn't hit nobody. I wasn't found liable for this accident. But they still hit me with a bit of an increase because they're stating it was still an accident, even if I got hit or not. It was still a collision, and they had to increase my payment of it. I didn't see that coming. I thought I was in the right. I thought I was off the hook. But no, they still nit me on that part. So this is one of those things where I got to protect myself and try my best to not get hit. It's just one of those things that life kind of throws our way, and the better we maneuver, the easier things will be for us. But it's my scenario. I'm sure you can relate in some capacity. Estate, wills, trust, beneficiaries, seek an attorney for liable review, an accountant as well. So being able to work with the accountant to build will, trust, beneficiaries is so important for your estate. To give you an example of how that works, if someone were to pass and they don't have any of these things in place, but they have assets and they have things that they've been able to acquire, being able to go through the court system to figure those things out will be a long process, and it will be financially draining, right? Because you have to pay lawyers and attorneys to figure out where does these assets go? Where does the money go? Where does that nice car that this person owned, it was paid off? Who gets that car? All of that can be done if you plan accordingly. If you work with to establish an estate through wills, trusts, and beneficiaries, you pay a little money up front, makes it easier down the line, right? So you pay a little money up front, invest a little bit, work with the attorney and accountant, so you can be able to establish what happens to you or a family member if something were to happen and they were to move on. at least you know that things are in place, so you don't have to go through a draining process to going to the courthouse, the city. You can avoid a lot of that just by having something in place. So that's something that I've been looking to do more of, and I encourage you to do the same. Investments. Part of the reason why we're here. Investing is the single best way to change your financial position and create wealth. This is so important, but can be very, very difficult. And what I mean by that, we spoke about credit, we spoke about budgeting, expenses, discretionary funds, emergency funds. All these things will dictate how much of investing you're able to do. Period. It's going to be difficult because once you're investing is like it's for long term. This is not for short term goals. This is for long term goals. And going back to the point I made earlier, the better you are at managing your day to day, the decisions of needs versus wants, what's important throughout your life cycle, all those things kind of makes it literally impacts how you're able to get to this piece right here, right? If you want to invest earlier, the better. The better you manage, the better. All those things matter so much. So as you can see in this attractive slide, you can see in step one, it starts with a few pennies. By step three, you can see your plant's growing now. Those seeds are growing, right? Because you got some years with it. You found a good interest rate. You've been paying attention to make sure it's still doing well. And by image number 5, you can see next thing you know, you have a money tree, which none of us can just go and pick money from a tree, but you can create your own tree with money. And that's why the slide is important. Just understanding you can get there, but if you handle everything we spoke about to the best of your ability, your opportunity to increase your investments throughout your life will expand exponentially. And that's why there's a money tree to save it. My grandmother, oh, you think money grows on trees? I'm like, yeah, no. And now my 9-year-old, she thinks money grows on trees. She literally said, hey, money literally comes from trees. I'm like, Lily, yes, theoretically the tree it can create paper, right? And but that's not how this works. So I had to explain to a 9-year-old. Well, she's not quite there, but I'm planting seeds. Where my oldest has a really good credit score, because I've been able to, implant these seeds early, and now I'm trying to do it with my middle and my youngest. But yeah, it's pretty funny. Save and invest, same thing, right? We're just going to continue to save what we have and invest in different places, whether it's schooling, whether it's the banks, wherever you're looking to invest. This is the opportunity to do so. Investing basics, 3 major choices, right? There's 3 type of ways to invest, right? There's investments. There's stocks, there's bonds, and there's cash alternatives. So what is a stock? Stock is a higher potential of return. It's a higher risk of loss, and it's a higher hedge against inflation, right? So you just kind of have to watch to see how that inflation is going. Are they trending up or downwards? That's kind of where you want to be. Whereas a bond is very low risk. It's a lower risk of losing funds and also of time, and it's easier with the inflation as well. So to me, stocks is day to day, week to week, better opportunity, but also can be some more risk. Whereas bonds is safer, it's just safer. But those are 20, 30-year bonds, 10, it can go pretty high as far as the amount of time you want to get these bonds for. And they're not going to pay the same amount of interest. So bonds is really something that you don't really pay attention to as much. Just know it's going to make some money, but it's going to take years to do it. Whereas stocks, you can kind of manage that a little closer and accordingly to what you like. What I will say about this piece, just to kind of slow that part down, is when I think about stocks, I think about emotional intelligence. I think about creating time to manage it, and don't forget about it. It's something you want to pay more attention to. And what I mean by emotional intelligence, we don't want to just invest into something that's hot at the moment, knowing that we don't really know much about it, or if it's even do good in the future, right? We're just getting it because based off what we've heard. Yes, that can happen here and there, but those are the ones you have to manage closely. I almost encourage you to invest in stuff you love, companies you love, people, leadership that you know that is just really changing the game. I wish I bought Apple products early on, and I didn't, and I lost out on some funds for sure because of that. Whereas I had a mentor who said, "Hey, did you check out the Apple stocks? Did you check out the Apple stocks?" I got an iPhone, I got all these Apple products, but I didn't invest into something I love, and here I am missing out on opportunities. So for me, it's just understanding like for me the best way is emotional, right? Just I don't go just based off emotion. Understanding these products, and the best way to understand the products is be really invested into the products, right? Into the brand, and with technology, AI, Microsoft. There's just so much going off. Right now, I'm really into ChatGPT. I know this is a very, very trending word, but I've been, looking at this sooner. Uh, and I've just seen the growth, and I've seen different companies continue to invest in these products into making sure they're the leader in these industries. So I'm like, oh, Microsoft, I like what you're doing. Good leadership, feels like they have a handle on things. They kind of see where this is going, and they're kind of staying ahead from everyone else. I want to invest a little bit into that. So, those are pretty cool things. Or versus when a stock is private, but you love it and you wait for it to go public, being able to pay attention to that. And then once it goes public, you have an opportunity to be able to invest in it. So having the love for it is going to help, especially for the areas that you enjoy the most. Save and invest appropriately, allocation. When you're investing, you have to have a strategy, right? You can't just throw something on the wall and expect it to stick, right? You have to be able to like understand what you're throwing on the wall, and then being able to plan accordingly. You have your short term, you have your conservative, you have your balanced portfolios, you have some that's meant to grow further, and then you have your aggressive, right? Each way you invest, you have to manage it differently. So understanding the differences between these different products is going to be big for you, and work with somebody. I encourage you to have so sorry. I encourage you to have someone in place, or a few people. You can have a financial consultant. You can have a group of friends. I have a chat with a group of friends that they just load up the group messaging and just shows what's hot and trending, and that's kind of where I like to feed a little bit. And I take that information and I take my own information. I listen to podcasts. Earn Your Leisure is like my favorite podcast for investing. In fact, I was a bank manager, but I wasn't really into investing as much. And I wouldn't even say that's my number one thing to do. Like there's other things that I do. I love and I like to invest, but it's not a super passion of mine. I just understand that its importance and how much it's gonna make a difference in my life. So I'm very invested into it, understanding what impact it will have. So I kind of, I kind of pull from different places. As I mentioned, text messages. I'm on podcasts. Earn Your Leisure. Like I'm like I want to listen to what because they're like fully invested. They're like all up in it, in the trenches. And I'm gonna, I based off what I've learned from them, I trust some of the stuff. Now I'm not gonna completely trust, but I'm gonna take some information. I'll research it on my own to see if it makes sense. And now I'm like, okay, I feel better about this investment. Let me jump into it. Right? Do your research. You don't have to have an enormous amount of love, but just knowing where to find information and then doing your own research before you emotionally invest into anything will go further for you for longer. And the goal is to always have a balanced portfolio. Some could be a little aggressive. You could pay attention to that more versus the ones that are not. Maybe you don't pay attention to that as much, but you're still paying attention always. Because if you love money, which, you want to be able to protect it. And these are different ways you do that. Save and investing for retirement. Do you have your IRA accounts, traditional IRAs, Roth IRAs, spouse catch-up contributions? A lot of that you could learn from your accountant or from just to understand the differences. They'll support you in these different ways. You have your group retirement plans like your 401k, your 403bs, and then you have your self-employed plans for your single Ks. So those are your more like retirement account investing, which is a different mix. And sometimes employers gives you the opportunity to be able to manage where they're putting the money, that could be cool. So I would encourage you to look into those industries, your job, your accountant, and just find different ways to kind of be more involved in these. When should I start saving? When should you start saving? I mean, as you see here, 20 years old, 18, once you start having a retirement plan for work, and once you start being able to create that budget, you can start saving and really as soon as 18, 20 years old, right? And how much you need to save monthly to have to $1 million, it shows you kind of like the trend, right? Like if you can start at 20 years old at $361, at 25 at 499, or and then you get to 2000, you can see how like you can climb pretty well. And by the time you're getting older and you're in 50s, you can have some really good accounts set up so that you can like start saving for the future. Delayed saving requires increases future savings at an exponential rate. So the later you do it, the tougher it will be. The sooner you do it, the better it will be. So, which reminds me, my oldest, it's time for me to have that conversation with them because they should start learning now where they should be as they get older. But the sooner you start, the better. Compounding interest is different. So we'll give you some examples. You have Ellen, who saves $500 a month from ages 25 to 35. That's 10 years and then stops. Money grows until she's 65. Money earns 7%, right? Where Kayla saves $500 a month from ages 30 to 65. Money grows until age 65. Money earns 7%. So there you can see how like it compounds more the younger you are versus the older you are. So it makes a big difference. Ellen will have 702,000 and she starts from 25 to 35, and Kayla will have 609. So she'll have about $100,000 less if she starts later. That money goes. And in this economy, the more you have, the better for sure, right? Because things are not getting cheaper. You can look at an S&P 500. So an S&P 500, the full name for that is called a Standard and Poor 500. So composition index includes 500 large companies representing various industries. These companies are selected based off the market, capitalization, liquidity, sector representation. It weighs as a S&P 5 is a market weight, meaning companies with larger market capitalization, they have more money and stuff like that, have a greater influence in the index performance. So that's what the S&P is, and you can see the performance S&Ps depending upon where you grab it. It will increase as time goes on. Often benchmarks for the market is used on gauge of overall health of the U.S. economy. To see these numbers represent approximately 80% of the U.S. stock market by market capital. So you can kind of see that piece making a big impact. And it also covers different sectors: healthcare, technology, consumer discretionary, financial, and emergency. Major companies will include something like Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Tesla. Eligibility must be a U.S.-based company. Market capitalizations above certain thresholds, and must have positive earnings in recent quarters. So they kind of, hey, this is a mixed fund, right? Of different, and they're gonna try to find and work with the best funds are, which is gaining the best interest. Historic range, right, of stock and bond returns. So you can just see the differences, right? If you're fully invested in the stocks and you're able to get at least 11%, you gotta pay. You can get there, but it shows you what you can do over 20 years, right? If you start with that amount, you get up to 816,000, rather than bonds, you're around 5%, and then 50-50 portfolios about mid, right? So like you have a little bit of both, right? Stocks can get you there. It can be better. But as you can see, this is a 1, 5, 10, 20-year rolling. We're not looking into just a 2-year. We're looking to say, how can we manage this stock for the future and then make changes if we need to be able to get to that 11%. Not easy, but it's attainable for sure. Index card finance. So what you want to know about that, maximize tax advantages, saving on vehicles like Roth IRAs and traditional IRAs, Maximize your 401k. Remember earlier I talked about maybe you can, switch up some of the investments in there so you can kind of get the best interest rate you're looking for. Buy inexpensive, well-diversified mutual funds such as, a Target. So being able to find them at a lower rate, knowing that they're going to increase in value because the company is doing so well with the leadership, or they are innovative and they continue to find new products to stay ahead. Apple changed the game for a while. Tesla changed the game for a while when it comes to cars, right? So understanding where they are in that picture, whereas you'll be able to buy it at lower and be able to make some money off of that. Pay attention to the fees and understand the expense ratios. Some of them come with fees, so they can, right? So you want to pay attention to that. What are the fees and how they work? Never buy or sell an individual security unless you can afford to lose 100% of the money you invest. The person on the other side of the table knows more than you do about this stuff, right? So if you can't afford it, don't do it. If you can afford it, knowing that you could lose it, that's when you want to do it. Obviously, you're going to work with the other side and the person to try to make sure you never lose a penny, but you can, right? So just can't be bent and just saying, hey, there's no way you could lose it. So if you can't afford it, don't do it. Save 20% of your money, right? So always save. Pay your credit card balances in full every month. Yes, you still want to build history, but you still want. So while building history for your credit, you can leave a little bit here and there because it builds history, but just don't leave big balances because you still want to increase that history score. So yes, if you're in a good place, pay it off every month. But if you're in a place where you're just trying to build your history so you have a better score, you can borrow, stay in that sweet spot, and just pay it back soon so you don't get too caught up into that. Make financial advisor commit to a fiduciary standard. Like hold them accountable. Make sure they're giving you their time and they're supporting you, and check on them daily, weekly. I would say bi-weekly. To a monthly, and then you're the person kind of managing it throughout that month. Why? And then from the end of this card, why personal finance doesn't have to be complicated. So it doesn't have to be complicated as long as you're really paying attention to it. A mutual fund versus an exchange traded fund. A mutual fund pulls together money from many investors. It promotes diversification. Expense ratios vary from high to low and low to high. Or low to high, sorry. A broad range of passive and active investment strategies. May have high minimums and trades at net asset value. Bought and sold once a day. That's what a mutual fund versus an exchange, whereas exchanges pulls together money from many investors, promotes diversification. Expense ratios typically low. So it's different from the low to high. Typically passive index investment strategies is an index, so it has different products, but a little bit less passive. So not as no minimums, trade at market price, and it's sold throughout the day. So those are kind of your mutual versus traded. Mutual funds pulls money from many investors, purchase a basket of securities in a particular sector. You have your professional management, you have your low cost, your diversification, your low minimum investments, you're flexible, and that all goes towards advantages of a mutual fund. So when you're looking at a mutual fund, these are the different categories you kind of want to take into account when you're looking into these different products. Target date funds, optimized for specific time frame, reduces risk throughout diversification, balance automatically, set it and forget it. Risk adjusted based on age. So age can dictate where you are with that target fund. There's many resources. You can find these different resources in different places. Why young investors shouldn't dabble in stocks versus why you should. There's a good article here, but there's all these resources: Morningstar, NerdWallet, Yahoo Finances, CNBC, Vanguard, Schwab, Fidelity, Credit Karma, Money Under 30. For me, podcasting, Earn Your Leisure. There's different books. There's different resources that you can look into And then Dave Ramsey is another person who I've looked to for financial support and financial understanding. He kind of helped me with understanding how money works. And then you have different podcasts that can help you understand the investment piece. So I encourage you to look at all these different resources, continue to learn how investing works, understanding what you're getting yourself into, and then making sure that you manage it appropriately. And that's going to be for the long term, bigger picture thinking. What is a credit score? What's a credit score? You can improve it, and it's really a black. So understanding what a credit score is, where you are. So here it just shows you Holly Black. Welcome to the Morningstar Investment Board. I'm Holly Black. Today we're talking about credit records, right? So in this resource, you can learn about different credit scores, how it works, how does it, what do you need to get out of these different. That resource can help you kind of navigate and kind of tailor what support you need for your current situation. This is one of my favorite slides about credit. Before we finish that, this is one of my favorite slides. So one of my favorite slides is showing what good credit versus bad credit looks like. If the same person goes for a car loan, it's both the same car, let's just say twin brothers. They go for two vehicles, and then the same car, both valued at $200,000. There's a 5-year on both cars, 16-month payment back. One is so good and bad credit. If you have good credit, you're paying 6%. Your monthly payment is $387 versus bad credit. You're looking at 26%, looking at $600 monthly payment. That's a difference of $212. And then in total interest, you're paying about You're paying about $3,199 in interest versus someone with bad credit who ends up paying $15,929 in that 5-year plan. That's a difference of $12,730. That's on my last slide, just to kind of help prioritize the importance of credit. And the better your credit, the more money you save, well, then you can use towards more investments.
Lots of things that we talked about today that might have you thinking about next steps. We're coming on a new year. That's always new beginnings, self-reflection. So through the Worth and Wealth program, you do have the opportunity to sign up with a free financial coach session with Oriana Felkowski. There's a QR code there, but that's also going to be in the follow-up email as well. Again, it's a complimentary session from participating in Worth and Wealth. Next session, 2 weeks away, January 8th, will be into the new year. Oh, Eric, I see your question. 1 second. Next, we're talking about, again, it's going to be our first session after the new year, designing your financial dreams. So again, QR code there. No problem, though. It will be in the email, which everyone who registered today will be receiving that email. Eric.
I just wanted to, you mentioned free financial advising?
Yes.
Wow.
Financial coaching. So she's an accredited financial coach. Yeah. Yeah.
That's amazing. I know that they charge for this service with many organizations. So yeah. I encourage everyone to take advantage. Absolutely.
Great. We appreciate that. And then lastly, through the state, so through Treasury in Massachusetts and through the Office of Economic Empowerment, everyone in Massachusetts has access to a free financial digital education experience on Enrich. There's lots of great webinars, there's articles, there are, I don't know if they have a full podcast series, there's budget tools, there's worksheets you can work with. So definitely sign up for an account, and it's, on your own time, really with a focus of financial wellness too. So we hope through educational opportunities like today, they really bring you to a place where you start to achieve financial wellness so you can make these difficult decisions. So please check that out as well. A sincere appreciation for your time today, Eric, and for your information and your knowledge and your expertise. Very, very helpful. We appreciated it. And just glancing in the chat to make sure we've answered all the questions. Yes, I think so. Please look out for the email. Jennifer, thank you so much for your help today as well. Everybody have a great day. Thank you, Eric.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
You're very welcome. Thank you, everyone.